All right. Good morning, everybody. I hope you are all doing very, very well. My goodness, this thing has been talked to death. It has been talked to death, and it hasn't gotten any better. It continues to just be horribly outlandish. And Tony Mathis, I said it before, I'll say it again. You are not okay. You are making some very peculiar, strange, unusual decisions. And for the life of me, I simply cannot understand what Seth Rogers is thinking at this point. I don't know what he's doing with you. I don't know why you continue to be a trusted person in his life. This just is the most incredible thing I've witnessed on YouTube, of all places. I mean, no question, YouTube sort of brings out the worst in people. Um, but what you are doing, have done, continue to do simply defies explanation. And that is what I'm going to talk about today is my incredulity at your moves and counter moves. And here's a little bit of advice. And I work really hard not to hand out advice. You have zero education, a big fat zero education, experience, knowledge to be a public relations guru. This is absurd. This is absolute. You being involved in these modern tragedies of missing people. Both situations are young, missing young men. And frankly, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to come out and speak my mind. I'm just going to give my opinion, speak my mind as an individual, and we'll just let the pieces fall where they may, because I'm horrified. Now, obviously, I'm horrified by the debacle of the green screen failure. Horrified. I cannot imagine a situation anywhere that you would have a picture of a missing teenager and you're pulling your yanker out. What in the world are you thinking? Where are you that would even be comfortable? It's like that television guy that was in a meeting and decided to self-pleasure himself as people are sitting around on other computers working. What's wrong with you? Like, what were you thinking in that particular situation? You're speaking about a young man missing. You're talking about the different people, the different situations related to it. And to be fair, Tony, to be fair, you were being a little Billy Badass, weren't you? You were talking crap. You were talking shit. And I don't know, maybe that's the kind of thing that gives you a little stiffy. I don't know. But it was so inappropriate and so cringe that the outrage shown by everyone is absolutely appropriate, in my opinion. It takes a really strange person to talk about people that have been victimized, talk about their parents who are grieving and terrified, and somehow you get the inspiration for what? I mean, it's what? How does one look at that situation and think, oh, look, I'm stimulated. Now's a really good time to pull it out. I just can't even imagine what was going on in your head. It's incredible. Now I recognize you literally have involved the FBI with your little wanker. Why in the world would you do that? Why would you contact the FBI, who, in case you have not noticed, have their hands full? I mean, you don't have your hands full either, but the FBI literally are incredibly busy with a lot of violent crime around this country and world. There's a lot of violent crime. There's a lot of missing people. There's a lot of elderly people that are being grifted and scammed for money, sir. You yourself don't have your hands full, do you? But at least you should have the decency to realize you pulling your wanker out on camera, a green screen fail, oopsie, and a lot of people laughing about it and putting up, memes and whatnot. That does not make for a crime, Tony. It doesn't matter if you've gone around and collected all the names of people that showed your wanker. Oh, we know who you are. It doesn't matter if we take it down now. Really? You think people are afraid of you, Tony? No one's afraid of you, and they certainly aren't afraid of your wanker. You're playing a game, little boy. You know how Seth got mad? Hey, boy. Come on, stop the BS. Stop. You guys are not in a pissing contest. There's a kid missing. Seth, you too, behave. Stop what you're doing. You look ridiculous. You look ridiculous in that attack that you made on Trevor Lee. What did he do wrong? He didn't do a damn thing wrong. All he did was aired a recording of yet another man in Sebastian's life, Christopher Proudfoot, acting like a wanker too. What's wrong with you men? It's incredible. So here's my concern. Past my frustration and anger at the men, the types of people that Sebastian had to deal with before he went missing. My heart breaks for this young man. My heart breaks for this 15-year-old teenager who had dumbasses screaming and yelling and carrying on all the time, pushing him around like he was a nobody. And I'm going to tell you this straight up, Seth. I hope to God you did not scream at your child. Hey, boy, listen here, boy. Stop. That's just stupid. It's ridiculous. And I hate the thought of Sebastian being terrorized by that nonsense. It's nonsense. Christopher Proudfoot, nonsense. But Tony Mathis, you're a different problem. And this is why I've sat on my hands for nearly a week. I've sat on my hands for nearly a week, and I kept thinking, okay, this is bad. Like the thoughts I'm having in my head, these are bad thoughts. And yet I can't get past them, Tony. I need to understand why it is that you show up in Idaho 4 doing video. I mean, you clearly already have in your mind this fantasy that somehow the big tone, he's going to go from crane operator, crane salesman, perhaps. I don't know what the hell you are. You're going to go from running large machinery or selling large machinery. You're just going to just jump into PR work. Why? Because you're so talented? What in the, how's that even in your idiot head? Do you have any knowledge about PR work at all? Do you recognize that is a career path that intelligent, normal people choose that in college? They get educated in the proper field with the proper skill set so they can then go out into the world and help people that are in crisis. Do you know that? Do you know that PR people are not just sitting around running their mouths? Are you aware that it requires communication skills? It requires emotional stability, Tony? What exactly in your life makes you think that somehow, some way, you have the knowledge, the connections, the rational, logical thought, the emotional stability to make these sorts of decisions to help other people that are in trouble and suffering? What makes you think you have that ability? I mean, what did you do, Tony? You just watched this whole true crime genre for a little while and decided, oh, well, I can do that. I can be a spokesman. I can be a talking head. Yeah, well, here's the deal. Most professional PR people are not inspired to whip out the little head while the big head is doing all the talking. That's not normal, Tony. And the fact that you call the FBI and you try to tell them, no, 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 it's a hate campaign against me. I'm just little old Tony, and they're all so mean to me. You thought that the FBI was going to go, yeah, sure, we'll help you. You really believe that, Tony? Nobody gives a damn about you and your little wanker. No one cares. Least of all the FBI, real law enforcement. They don't care. And you having a green screen fail does not rise to high crimes and misdemeanors. Do you know what I mean, Tony? It's just one big dumbass looking after a little tiny wanker. That's all it is, Tony. And you call the FBI, it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. But here's what is not absurd. And I hope that the FBI has an eagle eye on your strange ass. And here's what I'm talking about. I want to understand how it is that you go off to Idaho 4. And I don't know, I'm looking back at other missing kids cases. I'm looking back at other murdered children's cases. I'm looking at the people standing in the crowd because I'm looking for your face, Tony Mathis. Why would I do that, Tony? Why would I be so activated and angry about you? And I'm looking for your face, not only at Idaho 4, but Summer Wells, maybe. Here's why, Tony. I'll tell you why. Because it is damn strange. I'm going to say it. I'm going to open my mouth up and I'm going to say it. It is damn strange that you go out to Idaho 4, you spend time videotaping, acting like, oh, this is so fun. It's just a day at Disney World for old Tone. And magically, like just coincidentally within a few months, a coworker of yours, their teenage boy goes missing. It's just accidentally, Tony. It's just a magical coincidence. Okay, maybe that can happen. My mom had a friend whose son murdered his girlfriend. Maybe that can happen. I'm okay with that. That's not too bad. But how the hell do you get hooked up with Sebastian Rogers, whose stepfather is also in the crane business? It's not a lot of you guys around. Did you know that, Tony? Crane operators are not really the kind of thing that, exists in every single town. It's a skill set. It's crazy that you're hooked up with two families with missing young men, and both seem to have connections to you, Tony. How is that? How is that possible? what the idea that here's another part, because I've said this before. I'm kind of I'm uncomfortable with this practice. I know a lot of people do it, and I'm interested in the information. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm interested in the information. Sometimes I talk about the information. And I know that when kids go missing, or there's a murder or exceptional crime, I know that there's a lot of YouTube creators or investigative journalists that have YouTube channels. They reach out to family members, they reach out to friends of the victims, things like that, and form a relationship to get information. I know that happens. I think it's a bad practice. But I also never had the inclination to be a journalist. I want to respect people's boundaries. I don't want to intrude on these families, right? So I understand that sometimes people do that, but here's something that would never happen, not in 10 million years. If I had a coworker whose kid was murdered or went missing, the idea that I would jump up and say, I can do it. I can help you. Let me step up here and give this a shot. Let me go on all the national television programs and talk about your dead child or your missing child. I can help you. That thought would never enter my mind, Tony, because it's an obscenity. It's disgusting, Tony. It's disgusting. I even said to Seth, is there a way that you might be able to step away from social media for a little while? The police are investigating this crime against your 15-year-old son. The police will find out who took their child. Is there a way, Seth, that you can move away from this insanity in YouTubia? Is there a way you can get off the streets of YouTube? Stop exposing yourself to all of the discussion? You're running around like some jackass bonehead, Tony, thinking that you're going to stop everyone from talking. What's wrong with you? You're in the United States of America. People have opinions. Seth and Katie, they need a break. They need to be insulated from all of this discussion. I've been screaming this same messaging since the Shanann Watts murder. Since with her parents getting so overwhelmed by the coverage, people talking about Chris Watts killing his family. You've got to stop looking at it, because you cannot tell hundreds or even thousands of people that they can't talk about your child. You can't do that in the United States, Tony. You know that too. And if you were a real professional, if you were actually intelligent and educated on human communication, you would be instructing Seth to avoid YouTube, to stay away from these panels, to quit watching all of the coverage. Just stop, go away. Insulate yourself. You need to start getting healthy, Seth. It's time now. You need to get out, start walking every day, get some sunshine, get some fresh air, eat healthy food, start trying to find other things to focus your thoughts on. Maybe get one of your friends to go fishing with you. You got to re-enter real life, Seth. You're not going to be able to sustain this for years after years after years. It will kill you. And you're entitled to live. And what this jackass bozo Tony Mathis is doing, he is leading you to a place that will only improve Tony's bottom line. Tony somehow thinks that all he's got to do is blow smoke up everyone's behind, and they'll give him money, and then he won't have to work anymore. And I'll tell you this too about crane operators in 2024. There's not a lot going on right now in the United States of America in terms of building, is there? Things are pretty bleak right now in the job market. Tony's not selling a lot of cranes, you guys. So what did he decide to do? He decided, hey, I'll just jump on this YouTube bandwagon. Anybody can get up and talk and make a channel for themselves. Anybody can get up and have a successful channel. I just need to find a few missing boys to get started. What? Did I say that? Yeah. Go out to Idaho 4, look around the crime scene, watch how the people behave, look and see what's being said on YouTube and TikTok. And now old Tony's gotten himself educated, and now he is a man in search of a missing boy. Isn't that interesting that he found one in his own company? Isn't that interesting? And I got news for you, old Tony. If that thought came to me, it damn sure has come to the minds of those people investigating the missing cases of Caleb Harris and Sebastian Rogers. That's right. You called the FBI, but you know what I think, Tony? They're already looking at you. Who does that? Who goes out to Idaho 4, one of these big, huge national, international cases of murder? Who goes out there, looks around, gets to know the scene, gets to understand how the commentary works, and then, golly gee whiz, we just happen to have a missing boy in our company. Oopsie, we got another missing boy in my old buddy's friends up in Tennessee. That is some damn sure coincidence right there. That is a big, big coincidence. Big. And I'm predicting that there's probably not going to be any more missing boys that you're connected to, would be my guess. So I'm not sure what the gig is. Like, I'm not sure what the grift is, what the sting is. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm, been here long enough to know this. This case of Sebastian Rogers is not right. There's something really wrong here. And what happened to Caleb Harris is also not right. There's something really wrong. That Seth has gone from a person who he endeared himself to so many people because he was authentic, because you could see the grief. You could see that he was legitimately searching for his child. You could see it. You could hear it in his voice. And when you entered the scene, Tony, Seth changed. And Seth has now lost all of the support that he had from people that are giving their time and energy. They're not trying to make cash. They're giving their time and energy. People that flew their dogs in to try to look for Sebastian. As your little buddy, Christopher Proudfoot, refused to let those real dogs, those trained dogs and trained dog handler, refused to let them on the property. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing when you came on the scene, Tony, bad things started happening to Seth Rogers. Now, he's bamboozled. I get that. He is all in on Tony Mathis. Seth Rogers believes that Tony Mathis is the end all be all that he's going to be the one that's going to help Seth find his son. Seth, now's a really good time for you to turn off this YouTube insanity, walk away from TikTok, and for God's sake, never take another phone call from Tony Mathis, because this son of a bitch doesn't know a damn thing about public relations. Nothing. Nothing, Seth. He has mishandled what you wanted from the very beginning. I'm going to stop there. That's where I'm going to stop in this. But I'm glad that Tony called the FBI about the green screen failure. I'll say this on the green screen thing too. He lied. He changed the video to try to prove there was never a green screen failure. But when you go to the actual recording, because a lot of us record TikTok, Tony, because it became clear that you were having these late night conversations with girls, young women, and things were getting borderline inappropriate. And people began recording because they thought, man, this Tony dude is up to bad shit. He is not right. Something's wrong with him. Something's not right. And all of the people that recorded it, it's a completely different video, Tony. And here's the proof, the absolute proof that video was not manipulated, Tony. It was not manipulated. You look like a dumbass to the FBI. You look like a moron to the FBI. That video was not manipulated. It wasn't edited in any way. It wasn't any kind of AI. It was none of that. You know how you know? Because the words were coming up on the screen, Tony. How can you do that? No, nobody can do that. Nobody has the skill. I don't know. Maybe Secret Service might be able to do something like that, but why would they for little old you? Well, little old winker you. Why would they do that? They wouldn't. That's just dumb. You're just at every step, Tony, you reveal your level of ignorance. You are ignorant about technology. You are ignorant about human behavior and motivations, and you are ignorant as hell about communication and messaging. You are ignorant. Public relations people don't just get up there and flap their jaws. They certainly don't do it while they got their wanker pulled out either. That is a certainty. Leave this man alone. Let Seth Rogers go in peace. Leave him in peace. You may be having bigger problems headed down the pike there, Tony. The FBI may begin to take a real interest in you. For one thing, why the hell do you keep talking about that you're going to talk to Tim Miller? Do you realize that Tim Miller is in Galveston County? Do you realize that he is in south of Houston? He wouldn't even be the Equisearch that would even cover Sebastian Rogers' case. Do you know that? Like, are you aware of that? Or do lies just come so easy for you? They just roll out of your mouth. Here's another point to be made about Tim Miller. Do you know that Tim Miller doesn't get involved in crime scene? He doesn't search when there's been a crime committed. Are you aware of that? You're ridiculous. And the damage that you've done to Sebastian Rogers' case, trying to, with Seth, the damage you've done is astronomical. Astronomical. I have little doubt in my mind. I doubt sincerely that the cops in Tennessee they're watching you and they're thinking, why is Seth so shady? You did that, Tony. You did it. When Seth Rogers first started this, he was endearing. People wept for this man. People wept. They gave up weekends to drive 5 hours to come up there and search because of this man. Because Seth is there and he's crying and he's saying, help me find my son. Where is he? The amount of support that this man was able to garner simply because he was authentic and he was himself was incredible to see. Incredible. And you have come in and destroyed every bit of that. Go away, Tony Mathis. You suck. You don't know what you're doing, and you have ruined this for Seth Rogers. You have ruined it. And I can't help but notice another thing. The more you screwed up things for Seth Rogers, the happier Christopher Proudfoot became. I mean, the last time I heard Christopher Proudfoot and Katie on a panel talking with people, they were downright giddy. I mean, giddy. Seth, you've been played. I know you don't want to believe that, but these are snakes, Seth. These are not real people. These are snakes. But I predict, here's the one thing that makes me feel good. The one thing that really lightens my heart. This idiot, Tony Mathis, he's done. He's finished. He won't be a part of any more of these cases. So I don't know, Tony, whatever kind of grift you thought you were going to do, whatever kind of avenue to riches and money you thought you were going to achieve, I think you've cooked your goose now. You are quite simply the worst public relations person I've ever seen. Not only did you destroy things for Seth Rogers, you completely wiped out your own reputation. It's shocking. It is shocking, Tony, how bad you are at this. And I really think one of the reasons that you're so bad at it is because of your arrogance, that you saw other people, other talking heads, family representatives, victim advocates. You looked at it with absolutely no training, and your arrogance said, I can do that. All these people are doing, they're just talking. They're just running their mouth. No, you dumbass. They're talking, they're running their mouths after training. After they've been trained as a victim advocate. After the training, Tony. It's not a bunch of con artists running around. You believe that going up to Moscow, hanging around that terrible, horrible tragedy up there. I even heard a rumor, and this is pretty disgusting. I heard a rumor that you tried to get in on the act in Idaho 4 with a couple of those families up there. This was a quadruple murder. What kind of little slithering little insect does that, Tony? I mean, you didn't just call them and say, hey, can I have an interview? You literally tried to invade their lives in a damn quadruple murder. I mean, it's baffling. I mean, the level of, do you have is there an ounce of soul in your body? Is there even the slightest little bit of empathy at all? You're playing a game, Tony. You're playing a big ass game thinking that somehow you're going to get some easy money. That's a myth, Tony. There is no easy money. I'm absolutely horrified what you've done to the case of missing kid Sebastian Rogers. I'm horrified. I'm nauseated. When this thing happened with Sebastian, people really lifted up Seth and surrounded him and insulated him, and you could see the grief that this man was going through. You could see that it was so real. It was palpable. so many people showed up. So many people gave money. So many. Because it was real. It was authentic. And your dumbass shows up and you have absolutely destroyed. My heart breaks for Seth Rogers. My heart is broken for this man that you have manipulated and tricked. And I gotta wonder, just how often do you talk to Christopher Proudfoot? I hope the FBI is going to look into that too. I hope the FBI is going to be crawling up in and around and under all of your history, buddy. Every minute of it. Would be very interesting to know just how many conversations you've had with Christopher Proudfoot before you ever showed up in Tennessee. That would be interesting. Reality wins. Gabby has me questioning who she truly is. Her dates don't add up. 2011, Sebastian was 3, not 5 or 6. It's a red flag. Who is Gabby? I don't know who Gabby is. Tim did the same thing with Brandy. He was threatening folks while showing his teeny weenie over the top of a missing child's poster. Much endeavors. He absolutely was threatening. He was talking big. And interestingly enough, doesn't old Tone, when he gets fired up, doesn't he sound a lot like Christopher Proudfoot? They both have that same kind of, cadence and being Billy Badass, threatening, scare people into submission, all that ridiculous nonsense. Yeah. That is what he was doing. He was threatening. He was angry. And I don't know, some men get a stiffy when they're being threatening and controlling and aggressive. Some men do. And I guess he thought, hey, my camera's not on. I can do whatever I want to do. Get a little bit stimulated and go to town, I guess. I mean, it's embarrassing. It is damn embarrassing. But to call the FBI, why? What in the world? What makes you think that they care, Tony? What makes you think they care? Like, what are you trying to say? You accused people of manipulating the recording. Nobody manipulated it. The words are on the screen. Nobody did that. The fact that you think of a couple of creators that you just don't like, that you have a problem with, or that bullhorn Betty, welcome to the shit show. Can I ask you guys a question? I just want to ask you guys a question. I had never come at bullhorn Betty, right? Y'all know the people that come in my channel, y'all don't hear me going after other people, right? But I have eyes and I observe. And I know that Bullhorn Betty seems to have a tendency to stir up things wherever she goes, and she proudly admits it. The visual that I have of her walking across that street in front of, the little boy's house, and she's got her bullhorn, and, there's a recording of a baby crying. It's going out through the whole neighborhood, scaring little kids to death. She doesn't give a damn about those people living in the neighborhood. She doesn't care a bit. And everything is chaotic. The cops are upset. Everybody's upset. And she whips out that bullhorn. Well, like Tony whips out his wanker. She whips out that bullhorn and she screams through the bullhorn, welcome to the Bullhorn Betty shit show. And it was just like face plant, just face palm. It's like, really? Did you really just say that? And she did. And now I find out just total shock. Tony and Bullhorn Betty are a thing. They're a thing. So Betty gets hooked up with old Tone Locke here. And next thing we know, he's whipping his pecker out on live stream. is this not stereotypical chaos that Betty usually is able to stir up? Craziness. It's crazy. Seth, please, whatever you do, do not cultivate that friendship. Good God. My goodness. Such a strange group of players in this case that it has robbed Sebastian of all dignity. It's robbed Sebastian of all dignity. It's the saddest thing one of the saddest things that I've seen related to the whole YouTube stuff. It is a mess. Thank you, Cinnamon. Mess. It's a mess. And surely, Seth, surely you recognize that the more discombobulated you got, the more upset you got, the more you blew your team up and screamed and yelled and cussed at everybody, the happier Christopher Proudfoot and Katie became. Surely you noticed that, Seth. Or maybe old Tony maybe he wasn't letting you see it. Maybe Tony was guiding you away from that. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. All right. Whoa, wait, those two have hooked up like a relationship? Well, I haven't been in the bedroom with them. I don't know, but I know that she was, if you go and watch the interview that she did, it was pretty notable. She was on her very best behavior. Now they're big friends, right? So, yeah. Cher got my account banned because I knew exactly what happened to Quentin and said Billy Joe should be in prison too. I'm sorry, Reality Wins. You should not have been banned for that. There are a lot of people now who really, really, really dislike Seth. And it wasn't always that way. The worm turned when Tony entered the picture. The worm turned when Seth began firing people, screaming and yelling. Here's another thing, Seth, sincerely. Please listen. You can't yell at people and say things like, boy. Now, I know that that's the redneck South. I grew up in the redneck South. I grew up in the sticks of, the Arkansas, Louisiana, Piney Hills. I get it. I know your type. I know the deer hunting. I know the fishing. I know, because that was my family. I was around it. That's my husband. I get it. I got it. But when you're on these channels like this, it's being broadcast all the way around the world. And when you start screaming and yelling at somebody, boy, you're sending a message of subjugation and control, and people are not accepting of that. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I don't know why the hell you were so mad at Trevor Lee. Trevor Lee did you an enormous favor. I told my kids, you always tell the truth. Always. And the reason for that rule is that the truth keeps you safe, right? That's the point of the truth. People that want to hurt you, people that want to misdirect you, people that want to mislead you, those people will say things like, we got to keep this secret now. We don't want this getting out, okay? As soon as someone begins convincing you that the best thing to do is keep secrets, you know you're being manipulated and you're being led down the primrose path to no good. So Trevor Lee coming out with truth, with fact, there was nothing wrong with that. Nothing. Put the truth out there. Everybody's acting like, oh, poor old Christopher Proudfoot. He's just a good old guy. And when he got mad, he was just reacting to people in the side chat. He was just protecting his wife. No, he wasn't. Because on that phone call, we heard the reality. This is a man who's incredibly comfortable barking orders and growling at women. He's really comfortable with that. This is his personality. It doesn't make it good, Seth. You don't need to mimic Christopher Proudfoot's dumbass. He'll get his in due time. You just need to be yourself, Seth. When you were being yourself, when you were being authentic, you had more help than you knew what to do with. You said that it's too much. I don't know how to manage all these people. I need help. And that's when old dumbass Tony and his little wanker entered stage left. And since he entered, Seth, he's done nothing but destroy your reputation. He has destroyed your reputation, and he has built Christopher Proudfoot up left and right. And I'm going to say it again. Sure. Okay. So we've got about 100 people in here. Okay. Question. Does anybody but me think it is odd that Tony Mathis goes up to Idaho, sniffs around a quadruple murder of 4 college students, sees the outpouring of love and concern and interest for the Idaho 4, and then magically a young college student of a coworker goes missing? Anybody see anything curious about that? If you were a law enforcement person, would that be of interest? If you were an FBI detective and then you find out, oh, look, here's Sebastian gone missing, a 15-year-old boy, and his stepfather operates cranes. What a weird coincidence. The other missing kid down in Texas, that guy that came out of the woodwork like a little termite, he's also into the whole crane operator thing. What a weird coincidence. I'm going to tell you something. If I was an FBI agent, I'd be sincerely interested in that little coincidence. It is questionable at the very least. It is super weird. Agree, Jessica. Doing way too much chaos. It's just so extra all the way around. He is like the blonde lady in the Kylie Rodney case that paddle boarded to get over where the car was. Yeah, I can't remember that lady's name. I know who you're talking about. She was Ukrainian. Shoot, what was her name? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I know who you're talking about. Okay, so there's a lot of people. Hey, Pink Life, love your name. Was it Xanadu? No, it wasn't Xanadu. Maybe it was Xanadu. That doesn't sound right, though. Xana May. Wasn't it Xana May? Xana May. I think it was Xana May. Yeah, Jessica Rutledge. Yeah, Xana May. Correct. Yeah. Okay, thank you, because Xanadu sparked our memory, the proper memory thread. Thank you for thank you. We'll get there. When you get old, it takes a little while to trot down those memory retrieval paths, right? I'm just thinking it's a possibility that they are being, all these cases are suspicious to me, as this Summer Wells, I also feel, was sold. Oh, such a horrifying thought. I mean, I know what you mean, reality wins, but it makes me sick, right? It makes me sick to my stomach. Xanadu was Olivia Newton-John, wasn't it? Wasn't that a movie with Olivia Newton-John? I think. And on Broadway. That's right, Jessica. But it got our brains popping and down along the proper retrieval path. We found it. All right. Xanax, the anime. I don't know if that's what her name meant, but it was anime. Yeah. Big trafficking groups. I just don't know. I just can't think. I don't want to think about something horrible like the whole trafficking thing. But I am over the Tony drama. I think this man needs to disappear. I think he is best to just go back to trying to make a living with machinery Maybe little machinery, Tony. Like maybe you could sell like little Hot Wheel cars instead of like operating big giant cranes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just buy and sell Hot Wheel cars. All you got to do. Just set you up an eBay page and just start selling little stuff, little machinery, right? Who here thinks that Tony should sell small machinery? Just little miniature stuff, right? I mean, I'm sure you could make a lot of money, Tony, selling little machines on eBay. At least until the big crane industry comes back. All right. teeny tiny cars, little micro cars and trucks. And yeah, it's a good career path for you, Tony. I think it would be great. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, not a lot of people in today's economy have money to buy great big cranes. But everybody's got some money to buy like an eensy teensy weensy little, pretend crane. So give that some thought, Tony. That may be a good path forward for you. All right. Legos. Everybody loves Legos, Kelly O. Anyone can sell Legos. Absolutely. Yes. It was shown he has set up at least seven GoFundMes? For what? Like, who are the GoFundMes for? That's a good one, Cinnamon. TTT should be in jail for indecent exposure on the internet. Well, see, that's what's so funny to me, Reality Wins, is why would he call the FBI when he's technically the one that committed the crime, right? Like if you just whip it out, a bare crane, if you just unsheathe your crane on the internet, I think there's public decency laws, Tone. Why in the world would you call the FBI to tell on yourself? It's just mystifying. It's so strange, so odd. Different cases. Queen, I guess are you talking about Queen Bee or are you talking about Ange? Queen showed them last night and said that there are more. Interesting. Is that Queen Bee or is that different cases? Queen showed them last night. Legos, they're very hard on your feet and Hoovers, but whatever it takes to make children enjoy the learning of amazing history of toys. Yeah, they do hurt like the dickens when you step on them. Okay, so Queen Bee last night, which is June the 13th, Queen Bee apparently did a live where she showed all of Big Tony's. Tony Dodge is still doing videos down the rabbit hole. Can you believe that crap? He's still out there making it happen, but not like I think on the level that he used to be. I looked a few months ago, just curiosity, right? And saw that. Yeah. Seth should not be dealing with anyone on social media. The GoFundMes are exactly like Summers. If they thought they could do a reward scheme again, they would. Hundreds of thousands were made. It's just awful. It's really awful, Rachel. I continue to be really sad for Seth that he was so badly directed. I feel really bad for him. Tony Dodge is involved with Xana May. I'm wondering if people even know that he set them up. No, I don't think that. Well, now that's not true. I think Trevor Lee, he's smart. He probably sees the reality. I feel irritated Well, I'm just going to say it. I feel like I was misled by Seth, or either I was misled or I misunderstood what Seth was saying, one or the other. But either way it goes, I'm angry about it. The cease and desist letters that went out, they were not for the reason that I thought the explanation was. So that makes me angry. I think what it was, it seems like to me, now that we know the names of the people that the cease and desist letter went to, I think it's pretty clear. These are people that Tony decided he did not want to have around because they were stealing his thunder. They were actually doing work. They were actually making progress. Like Chloe, she was actually forming a bridge to talk with the police. Like she was really making good progress, right? And they were controlling the online messaging, didn't have all of this screaming and yelling and dicks waving around everywhere on the camera. And it was working. People were engaged. They cared. They were going to help look. They were donating money. I mean, it was working. And this bozo head came in and blew it all up. It was really terrible. It's really terrible. All right. So my message is out there. I've had so many people send emails and whatnot, and everybody's saying, what do you think? What do you think about what Tony did? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? I had to wait. I had to wait before I could, give a comment on it because I'm so disgusted and outraged. Here's another thing, Tony. I mean, I don't even know what you think you are. If you think that somehow you hold the skills to be a PR person, that's just dumb. It's you've not demonstrated good. You haven't demonstrated rational thought. You haven't demonstrated any kind of like good intent since you got involved in the Sebastian Rogers case. But here's one of the biggest, stupidest things that you've done. First of all, I think it was sinful that you took a page that was dedicated to a missing college student, Caleb Harris. By the way, are you the one that fed that disgusting information to Gray Hughes so that he could accuse Caleb Harris of doing things that Gray has absolutely no idea Caleb was doing or not? Like, were you the one that fed him that info? Or maybe it was Christopher Proudfoot that gave him that info? Because if you did, you are a gross goat. You are the grossest of all goats, okay? But you taking a page, hijacking the people that subscribed to show support for Caleb Harris, not for you. They despise you, Tony. They hate you. You're slimy and gross. But you hijack a page that is for Caleb, you change it to your name, and then immediately begin slandering JLR. And here's what makes you such a big old dumbass. Everyone knows JLR. Everybody knows him. We knew about JLR back during the whole Sandy Hook thing. We saw the videos of the aftermath. We saw him being afraid of the cops and recording the interaction. We saw it all. And in my opinion, there were, some of it was bullshit. However, you act like what he did was just like this nightmare, terrible thing. And it was the whole misrepresenting himself and whatnot. That was terrible. And that goes along with my feelings that YouTubers should not be reaching out to families and victims. That's only my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. Just my opinion. But here's what you don't know. JLR is clearly a hell of a lot smarter than you are, because he self-taught himself how to file legal documents, to make things happen, to get things done. He practiced while he was in prison. He got himself a skill set that he has now parlayed into a very real career. He's doing great. And he's being nice to people, Tony. And when he makes his videos, they come from a good place. He's trying to bring good, solid, factual information to the discussion. He's not misleading the father of a missing kid who has a broken heart. And the funniest thing, the thing that makes you look stupidest of all, is JLR wrote a book himself. You haven't uncovered anything special, Tony. It's not like I'm going to dox JLR. I'm going to make JLR look so bad. No, wrong. Missed that boat, you little dumbass. JLR wrote a book. He talked about all that he experienced and learned and got on a different path. He himself did. You didn't break any news, none. The people that support JLR support him because who he is today, Tony. And the reason that people reject you right now is because of who you are today. You could actually learn a lot from JLR about being a good person. You could learn a lot from JLR about getting on the straight and narrow, going from a bad place to a good place. But you're too stupid for that. You're too arrogant for that. You'll never do it. You're just going to sit around and keep on blowing smoke up Seth's ass, building him up, and you guys are just going to be like this wrecking machine. You're just going to go through and just going to destroy anything good related to the search for Sebastian Rogers. It's terrible. It's so sad what you're doing. Anyway, Seth, I hope you find a different way, That's true, Lenora. I agree. He's a grown-ass man. That is true. He's a grown-ass man. He's the one who made the decision to follow Tony's advice. Absolutely agree with you. I agree with you. All right. Okay, I'm done. It's been a long time since I was heated, right? It's been a long time since I got so angry. This I'm angry about because it is all about Sebastian. We should not be talking about grown men pulling out their tallywhackers with a camera rolling. We should not be talking about these things. We should be talking about Sebastian, the search for Sebastian, all of the searchers that are donating their time, what they found, what they experienced during the search. That's what we should be talking about. That is what we should be talking about. We should not be talking about these little man boys that are getting online and acting like little toddlers in a playpen in a daycare, screaming and yelling at each other, throwing toys and hitting each other in the head. We should not be talking about this. It should end. It should stop. It should. And quit pointing your finger at YouTubers, Tony. Quit trying to make everybody else responsible for your bad choices and decisions. The reality is you don't have the training or the life experience or the intelligence to be a public relations guy. You just don't. And I hope Seth finds a way forward that means unloading you too, getting rid of you and finding a different path forward as he continues to look for his son. That's the fact of the matter. All right. When you don't understand the dirty, disgusting ways of SM and some creators, then you will be eaten alive by them if you are a parent coming to the streets for help. I can't argue with that. I think you're right. And I think that when you have a missing child or your child's been murdered, I think you're horrified and you're in a state of shock and you're just grasping like a drowning person. You're just grasping at anything to hold on to, right? I think it was just a miscalculation. But Seth is a grown man. He's intelligent. And at any time, he could wake up and say, this is what we don't need. We need the conversation on Sebastian and the searches. We do not need to be talking about Tony's little whacker, okay? Little weed whacker. You know what I mean? You are desperate and will take any help when your child is missing. I absolutely agree 100%. So right. So right. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I sure appreciate it. You know the YouTube thing. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. It doesn't cost you anything. It just helps you know when I've done a video. And, you know, I'd appreciate a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you thumbs down, please leave a message why you didn't, you know, don't want to hear me talk anymore. Okay. Y'all have a wonderful day. Lots of studying and listening in, but I have to say I love the way you tell it like it is. Thank you, Elizabeth. You are very kind. I appreciate it. There will be plenty of people, Elizabeth, that do not like what I said, and I'm prepared for that. I'm wearing my coat of armor. I'm ready for anything. All right. Look, today is Friday. Woo, 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 woo. I hope you guys have something really wonderful planned for the weekend. And, you know, if you're close to Tennessee, maybe go walk around, see what you can find. All right. I will be back and we will talk again. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful Friday night. See you later.